Wake up to another day, praying a higher power would just take me away. I can't go on like this. Stay up through another night, wondering why all I ever do is fight. I can't go on like this. But there's something brewing underneath the surface of my mundane life, and it's like a fire. 'Cause tomorrow is a world unconquered. It's a song yet to be sung. It's a story still unwritten, where I'm bound to be someone. I'm bound to be someone. I stay tough, write another line, try to chase the dreams I know will never die. I can't give up on this. I'd rather fail 100 times than never make it big, 'cause I never tried. I can't give up on this. But there's something growing underneath the surface of my worn out heart. It's a brand new start. 'Cause tomorrow is a world unconquered. It's a song yet to be sung. It's a story still unwritten, where I'm bound to be someone. I'm bound to be someone. I will rise again, and they will know my name. Like a butterfly, I'll cause a hurricane. I will rise again, and they will know my name. Like a butterfly, I'll cause a hurricane. 'Cause tomorrow is a world unconquered. It's a song yet to be sung. It's a story still unwritten, where I'm bound to be someone. It's a land without a king, and I'm gonna be the one. So when the race is on, oh, I promise you I'll run. I promise you I'll run. Oh, I promise you I'll run. You are wrong, 'cause I'm bound to be someone. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the warm welcome by Turku Conservatory's aspiring musicians Julia Riihimäki and Riku Heinänen, playing a song called Bound to be Someone by the vocalist Julia Riihimäki. Let's give a round of applause one more time to our wonderful artists. Thank you. And now, dear seminar guests, and all of you following the live stream, welcome. We begin the Taitaja2025 International Welcome Seminar towards a better future, educational innovation and international collaboration. The theme of our event is professional skills for the future. During the next 2 hours, we will explore examples of career, education and skill development in an international context. My name is Maarit Rouna, and I will be your host. Welcome. First up, the seminar opening words by Petri Lempinen, Director General of the Finnish Ministry of Education and Culture, Department for General Upper Secondary Education and Vocational Education and Training. Welcome, Petri.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and happy to remind about the professional skills that this event is all about. I had to perform something earlier today. It is my great pleasure to open this seminar, which focuses on our way towards a better future through skills and skills development. And what would be a better place to tackle this topic than a seminar which is organized in Finland as a co-event of the national Taitaja skills competitions. I'm a historian by my education, and I've studied quite a lot of history of Finnish society and how the development of education and the idea of education in Finland, how they have been bound together. And I think Finland is one of the good examples how a country that was 100 years ago, 120 years ago, extremely poor country, how it has risen from poverty to welfare by educating its people. 100 years ago, it was a new nation, young republic, but they had, which was still covering from the civil war, but they had the courage and understanding to make important and long-lasting decisions that have had impact on its future. The first one was the law on compulsory education on all the children. In the beginning it was 4 years, now today it's until the kids are 18 years old. And this was a decision that led to the birth of the best comprehensive school in the world. It took 80 years to build that school that created the results of the PISA tests that we still remember. And now we are in a situation that we should be able to do something to change our education system so that we would meet the needs of the future, and not only future, but meet the needs of the society as it is today. But there was also another less well-known legislation that was set up in the early 1920s. It was a law on apprenticeship training, and from that legislation there is a direct pathway to the current Act on vocational education. Later on, 1960s, Finland also started to invest on higher education, which was of course a prerequisite for our country to become a knowledge-based society and economy. Well, 100 years later, the world has changed, Finland has changed, the world and the way how we live, it has changed in many ways. And it somehow feels that the pace of change is so radical that, you know, that how we live everyday life, it's today different than it was 10 years ago when Turku last time hosted the Taitaja competition. Our children and the kids who are competing, they live in a totally different world where I grew up 40 years ago. And now the big question for Finland, and I think the big question for all other countries in the world is that what should we do? What should we understand? That we can cherish what is good in existing education system, but also to have the courage to make the changes so that the education, the schools, vocational schools would give the knowledge, the skills, the competencies for our young people and also for adults that they will need in the coming years. We are all talking about artificial intelligence today, how it will change everything. I don't know if it will happen. Maybe Hiski or somebody will speak about that. But there was also another interesting thing that happened last weekend. There was a marathon in China where robots were running with humans. Around 10 years ago, we were watching YouTube videos on how robotics were evolving, and at that time we were laughing that they will never walk like human beings. But they did the 42,195 meters. So the technology is going its way, and we humans are making the technology, and we have to also adapt to the way how it is changing the world, which means that we have to be able to do maybe some other things than we were forced to be able to do in the past. And then the third important thing is also what has happened to the security environment, the social cohesion, how we belong together. I'm not only talking about the war in Europe or this kind of trade war that seems to be raging in the world, but what is happening every day in our neighborhood. And the schools, the education, it plays a really strong role and a major role in keeping the society together, because that's where the new members of the society, they will get the idea that what is this Finland, what is this world, what is the humanity that I belong to. So, how can we support our children, youth, and also adults who need new skills for the new world so that they can flourish and gain the best possible things in their own life? This is one of the big questions. And for us who are in charge of different affairs, for example, government, businesses, civil society, it is our job to ensure that through education and culture, people will have possibilities for meaningful life. With these words, I would like to open this seminar.
Thank you, Petri. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Hiski Haukkala. As the director of the Finnish Institute of International Affairs, Dr. Haukkala brings a wealth of experience from academia, government, and international research institutions. As a leading expert on EU foreign policy and international affairs, he will share his insights today on future-proofing, reflections from a professional struggling with the future. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Hiski Haukkala.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to share a few words and ideas with you today. Yeah, I always been interested in future, and thought that is probably the correct angle when we think about the context within which this seminar is taking place. We are talking about the future of knowledge, the future of education, the future of talents and craftsmanship, and these are, of course, very important topics. And in the final analysis, we are talking about the future of human endeavor, which is very important indeed. I thought this would be a sort of a good starting point, the immortal words by Yogi Berra, "The future ain't what it used to be." This is, of course, a truism. Future has always been an alien territory for us. It is a country yet to be visited, or in the words of the song we heard at the very beginning, tomorrow is a world unconquered. And that has, of course, throughout the human history and our existence been the case. Also, future is a world that will be largely, not only, but largely our own creation. That is something that does not happen or does not transpire, but it is something that is generated, built by human endeavor and human volition, and hopefully intentional and meaningful, and with a good luck, intelligent action as well. And this should be a sort of a message of hope for anyone who is perhaps anxious about the future or worried about what future will come or what will happen, what horrible things will happen tomorrow. Most of these things are actually up to us, as individuals, as societies, nations, and in the final analysis, as humanity. But I still think it's important to pay heed to Yogi Berra's words, because probably he is more correct today than ever before. Because one key message of today, of course, is that the future and the changes in the future, they are coming fast. So the tempo of the world is changing, and that is a very important and a very decisive change that we are talking about. It is actually changing to such a degree that that's why the subtitle of my talk is Reflections from a Professional Struggling with the Future, because indeed I find it intellectually sometimes very difficult to keep abreast with all the changes in the world. And here, of course, comes the sort of the disclaimer of my talk here today, that change is so fast to a certain degree, and we are going to a potentially radically very different future than we are currently and previously experienced, that I don't think asking for career advice or deep insights from a 55-year-old gentleman such as me is probably not the best idea. I think I would actually look to the young for guidance and inspiration and understanding what on earth is happening on this planet, because I think they get it probably much better than old farts like me. But because I have been invited, I have to deliver, and that's what I will do. Here's, I think, another perspective that accentuates the human volition. Giuseppe Mazzini, he was one of the fathers of Italian unification in the late 19th century, and he has been described with the words, "Great things are achieved by guessing the direction of one's century." And of course, he knew what he was talking about. He sensed the nationalistic tides in the air, and they sort of seized the moment and of course unified Italy and created the contemporary Italian state in the process. And I still think that this applies, although probably because the time frames are shrinking on top of the century, we probably need to talk about guessing the direction of one's decade. And that is probably to a certain extent a more actionable time frame for many of us, and especially for the young individuals who are forging their path forward in the world and trying to find a career path and a life path, which is always a challenging task, regardless of the generation you are representing or part of. But when talking about the direction of this century or this decade, I think this is sort of a safe bet. We are entering, and to a large extent or to a certain extent, we have already entered the world of deep and profound technological change. And I think this will be one of the master variables and master drivers affecting the future of humanity, the future of international politics, the future of work, and indeed, as I said, the future of humanity. We are dealing with the question of artificial intelligence, which is progressing by leaps and bounds. I don't think it is a question when or if, but rather when we will begin to see the sort of the effects of artificial intelligence. And I think the headlines, for example, from the Financial Times of the last few days seem to indicate that it's now starting to happen. So So the firms are recruiting less people to certain tasks than they previously did, and some companies are deferring recruitment in anticipation of perhaps some changes in the job market in the years to come. Another factor obviously affecting, and that was also reflected in the opening remarks, is robotics. That, combined with artificial intelligence, is creating new opportunities for manufacturing and probably changing the face of human labor, at least to a certain extent already in the coming years, let alone decades. And finally, the life sciences, bio, and also other material technologies, nanotechnologies and others, they are profoundly, of course, changing the very sort of physical building blocks of our reality. And of course, the biggest thing is not just these technologies in their own right, but they're coming together and integration that will be affecting our lives in very profound ways in the years and decades to come. On top of that, I would be remiss not to remind everyone that, of course, there are other things affecting and driving the future years and decades. Climate change, obviously, being a very important factor, which is unfortunately overlooked, I think, to an alarming degree in our debates today. We are not talking enough about this, and most definitely we are not talking enough about this, which is the ongoing and acceleration extinction of life species and biodiversity loss that we are experiencing in the world today. And this is the other side of the coin, that we are entering this period of amazing and magnificent technological promises and opportunities, new wonders, perhaps even magical technologies that these wizards and wizardresses, I'm not sure if that is a word in English language, are tantalizing before our eyes. But at the same time, we try to and desperately need to do this jump and transition in a world which is ecologically constrained, overheating, and we have to find a way to do all of these things in a manner that is much more sustainable than it has previously been. And this, I think, is the big challenge for all of us in this room and basically everyone on this planet. I think what this sort of all amounts to, when we take it all together, is really the world of exponential change, that the tempo and rhythm of many of the developments is quickening. And we are not accustomed to these kind of processes as a human species, as I'll show you in the next slide. We are used to more linear progress, where, for example, if you take 10 steps, you take 10 steps and you basically get to the end of this stage over here, which is approximately 10 steps. If you take 10 steps in the world of exponential or geometric change, you take, can you guess? 512 steps in 10 steps in geometric or exponential change, which takes you back to the Gatorade arena and back again. If you take 5 more steps in the world of geometric or exponential change, you end up in Lieto, which is 15 kilometers from here. And that goes to show the sort of the exponential change curve and the power of the exponential and the takeoff, that relatively short steps in this logic, once there is enough momentum in the process, can take you to a very surprising direction. And that is reflected in the picture over there, where a person who finds his life so predictable suddenly is an alien territory. And there are some indications right now that artificial intelligence is potentially, perhaps, on the cusp of an exponential curve, which could take the technology very, very rapidly to a very surprising and exciting and perhaps also scary directions in the coming years and let alone decades. My favorite example of the power of exponential is the one we have all lived through. It's from the spring 2020, where Finland, for example, went in the space of 2 weeks from a situation where we basically had no COVID-19 cases officially to a situation where we were faced with a national lockdown. And that was 2 weeks where the power of the exponential took every one of us by the surprise. The problem for us is that we are not biologically endowed to operate in this kind of a world. We have evolved, and biologically as a species still are very much these guys from the savannas about 100,000 years ago. And this world, and this is the world and kind of operation environment in which we are biologically endowed and find natural to operate. So for us, it is very difficult for us to comprehend complex systems, to comprehend exponential change, because we simply lack the sort of the wherewithal to do that effectively and successfully. And this is, I think, as a species, a genuine challenge for all of us. Obviously, over time, we have been able to devise ways to supplant our sort of biological limitations. So organizations, companies, the state and its machineries, different organizations, they are attempts to create, in a sense, artificial intelligence of sorts, which enable us to operate in complex environments and actually execute tasks that are too difficult, too complex for any single individual to execute. Right now, it seems to be that our best bet, according to many people, is that we will devise artificial intelligences, probably in the plural, who will, in the first instance, assist us with the tasks of sort of understanding the world, understanding and deciphering the amazing amounts of data that is on offer, and to also operate and manipulate the world in a more reliable manner than has previously been the case. The downside, of course, of such a development is that what we win in terms of our capacity to understand and perhaps manipulate the world and operate in this increasingly messy and fast-paced environment, we of course forfeit human agency. We first of all delegate and perhaps over time even relegate agency to these systems when we increasingly come to rely on them. And this, I think, is a very profound question facing all of us, that how and to what extent we want to move and how quickly we want and can and should move in this direction, if and when the technology will allow these kind of developments in the coming years and particularly in decades. This is probably the point in time in my presentation where my money-back guarantee expires, because the last two slides I'm going to show you, I think I'm particularly ill-disposed to talk about, but I'll promise to try, so I'm going to do it anyway. So what all of this actually means for us in terms of education and what kind of skills we need to aspire for, and how should we approach this new world? And the honest answer is, and the short answer is, that I don't know. There is simply quite a bit of uncertainty at the moment concerning the trajectory of technological development, the pace of technological development, the sort of downstream effects of these technological breakthroughs, potential breakthroughs that are anticipated, where people are clearly banking on that they will be coming online in the coming years, and in particular in decades. And as long as we do not have full visibility concerning these processes, especially when one keeps in mind that we are living in the world of exponential change, I have a lot of sympathy for people working, for example, in the ministries, trying to devise long-term policies and strategies, how we should sort of chart our way in this situation and in this operation environment when there is so much uncertainty and cloud over the horizon. One thing, an approach that has always served me well is probably and this might be counterintuitive, and that's why the last words in my slide is that I do not give career advice, is eclecticism. I hail from the most eclectic of social sciences, which is international relations. And I have always found that the best way to understand or try to understand the world is not to be a sort of a, in the words of Isaiah Berlin, a sort of a hedgehog trying to stick to a single paradigm or pet theory or one piece of knowledge or body of knowledge and then try to apply that as a hammer to all different instances. I've always thought of myself as more as a fox, as a sort of a more intellectually open, versatile, eclectic, essentially person who tries to combine different perspectives, different disciplines, ranging from history to sociology to political science, and thereby trying to devise and build a world model in my brain, which is an ongoing process, basically never ending, but gives you a sort of a map and a kind of a compass with which you can try to sort of work and move around the world and go about your business. And it goes basically counter the sort of the traditional advice that people are usually given. You need to select a field, dedicate yourself fully to that, and then try to master that craft or science or piece of information to the fullest. In the words of Malcolm Gladwell, to apply the 10,000 hours to the chosen profession, and then you will become the master in that particular craft, and then you will be respected and celebrated in your success. This version, which has been my way, I think, better, and I apologize for the explectative, I think is the word, the F word in the third picture, but this is from the internet, a picture I found, has been to be always a more eclectic, combining different perspectives and therefore gaining perhaps wider vistas. And this would be my advice perhaps to people struggling with the future, is that especially when we do not know what is the winning combination of skills and tricks of the trade you need to master, it is probably a good idea to aspire for the open vistas and as comprehensive understanding of the world. This does not exempt you from the 10,000 hours of work, but you cannot dedicate it to a single topic. You still have to do the 10K in order to be worth of anything in this world, but you can do it perhaps a little bit differently. So some tentative conclusions. Future is open, and I'm quite convinced the best is yet to come. And this, I think, is a very strong message I want to convey today. There's so much sort of agony and fear directed towards the future, and I'm quite convinced that we have as humanity, as an individuals, we have a great future awaiting us, especially if we appreciate the fact that it is something that we get to do ourselves, that we have the agency, and we need to take the agency in our own individual lives as human collective societies, nations, and in the final analysis, hopefully as some kind of a collective called humanity. Also, I think it would be a good idea to learn to appreciate the power of exponential change. It doesn't come naturally to us. It is very difficult to understand, appreciate. So try to think what these kind of processes could mean. Try to think of instances where they might be already present, and train your mind to think about the power of exponential change. Most definitely get to know the tech and learn how to use it. If you are not into artificial intelligence, if you are not learning to using these tools, I think you are in a horrible danger of missing out on very exciting developments and probably making yourself completely redundant. At the same time, retain and enhance your agency. The last point first. Because even when you start using the AI and these sort of systems, you should use them to enhance your own volition, to enhance your own agency, and not to use them to supplant or make your agency completely redundant. And this was the strong message I had to my students at Tampere University when I was teaching them international relations introductory courses, that you are an idiot if you outsource your essays to the chat GPTs, because then you miss out on the possibility to learn and you don't get the important software in your own head, even though if you learn to use chat GTP more effectively in the process. So retain and enhance your agency. And most importantly, keep the future aspirational and open. It is for us to decide what will come out of this world, and I very much look forward to enjoying the ride. Thank you.
Thank you, Hiski. Our next speakers represent the very core of what the Taitaja event is all about. Celebrating vocational education and training and showcasing the talented professionals of tomorrow. Here to reflect on skills competition's role in developing professional skills for the future are David Howie, Chief Executive Officer of World Skills International, and Maria Ekroth, CEO of Skills Finland. Welcome, David and Maria.
Thank you very much, and it's lovely to be in Finland. It's a country I love, have massive respect for the people, the education system, and your skills development. So let's put a bit of perspective around the title for today. So World Skills, as a global organisation today, has 89 countries as members. That's 2/3 of the world's population, and each one of them is connected because their ministry, in some cases it is the ministry, appointed them to be the skills organisation for their country. And so World Skills inspires young people to develop a passion for skills and pursuing excellence through competitions and promotion. We develop skills through global training standards and benchmarking and enhancing industry engagement. And we influence industry, government and educators through cooperation and research. And those 6 focus areas is the magic of World Skills. So, inspiring skills excellence, because around the world, every education system in vocational education and training is you're not yet competent or competent. And the question is always, what's the difference between competence and excellence, and how can you benchmark that? And kudos here to Finland, because first piece of major research we did was modelling of vocational excellence. And it was started in Finland at the Tampere University, and then we connected Oxford University and the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology University in Australia, and conducted MOVE, Modelling of Vocational Excellence. And you see, we translated it into many different languages because it just became such a clear explanation of the role skills competitions had in driving up performance in skills development. And that basically it's summarised as follows. World skills competitions raise quality, promote promotional development, and drive improvements in vocational training. It offered learning for life, a pathway to professional identity, leaders in the making, and strengthening national training systems. So I could spend a few minutes talking about how skills competitions work, and 1 minute on this. Basically what we do in a skills competition, and what you're seeing out here, is it's driven from industry. They have the demand for the skilled worker. We turn that into an occupational standard, which you could simply say describes the perfect practitioner. And then we create what is called a test project, which is what you see all the competitors doing, and that actually is a demonstration. And so as the competitors do their work, they're demonstrating their actual proficiency. We score it against excellence through a marking scheme, and that's how we can determine a ranking as opposed to just an equal benchmark. And obviously there's an infrastructure list, which is all the equipment they use. But I prefer a simpler description. To the competitors, it's an opportunity to push themselves to find out how good they really are. And when you talk to young competitors, some of them are a bit cocky, they think they're pretty good at what they do, then all of a sudden, in a competitive environment, they realise how much they still have to learn. And that takes them from just what they achieve to get their ticket through a vocational school to what can they really achieve as they get pushed to excellence. To the experts, or the teachers, the educators, this is one of the main things we find in the value of World Skills. So they are there to run the competitions, provide a fair environment, but at the international level, you could imagine, once the competitors start doing their work, each teacher or expert goes around and says, what are you doing in Australia? What are you doing in Korea? What are you doing in Japan? What are you doing in Finland? What are you doing in all the countries of the world? And they learn from each other, and they ratchet, and they drive up their own understanding of their skill. They find innovative ways to teach. They find what the future is, going back to our previous speaker. What are the new technologies? What are the new ways we're going to teach that? And this whole system just helps each other and drives up performance. To the companies, it provides a showcasing of new technologies, because there's always a lag between what's happening in the real world and how quickly the education system picks that up. And so in skills competitions, we have the opportunity to showcase new technologies, new careers. We often talk about it. Who's the most influential person on a child's career choice? Their parent. Agree? Who's the most ill-informed person on the planet about the careers and opportunities of the future? The parents. If I said to you, what's additive manufacturing? How many people could tell me? Yet it's probably one of the fastest growing industries of the future. Think of 3D printing. That's what it comes to. So it allows the companies and the industries to show what is happening, what the future opportunities are. And we often get compared at the World Skills level to the Olympics of skills. And think about the Olympics differently. You don't know who's going to win all the sports at the next Olympic Games, but it's a pretty simple process for countries. You attract lots of young people, or maybe not so young in the Olympics always, into the sport. And then you provide a very good world-class training system. And the quality of the athletes is drawn up. And so the Olympic Games actually is a good benchmark for a country's sporting system. In Australia, let's say swimming, we don't know who's going to represent us in the future Olympics in swimming, but we get lots of young people into the pool. We showcase champions, world-class training, and then everyone can swim above average and some can swim excellently. And so World Skills is effectively the World Championship of skills. And we provide a benchmarking, recognising excellence in skills. So to the young people, it's a chance to pit themselves against the rest. To the country, each competitor is a benchmark of that country's vocational training system, the quality of it, and the number of people going into it. And of course, it's not about winning. It's about benchmarking your performance against international standards. And this goes back to the title as to how do we drive innovation and how do we showcase. So the response in skills competitions is very fast. And all the experts will come back, and if they've got good systems, and I again recognise Finland here, your experts will come back and they will share the information with everyone else, and they'll recalibrate the education system, the curricula for that particular sector, skill or technology. And that's that circle of cycle of learning going on. But coupled with it, and it's magic if you walk outside today, inside the workshops, we've got the competitors working away, shutting out the world, focusing on doing their best performance. But there's 40,000 visitors walking around, parents, educators, policymakers, And every one of those is having an opportunity to look inside the workshop. And we see this as the biggest positive around creating tomorrow's workforce. Young people looking over the fence and saying, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that existed. And they get inspired. And then the education system pulls them through and you drive up your skills performance. So, world skills around the world today. We have the global organisation and we're responsible for it throughout the world. We've seen the rise of regional organisations because what was interesting in that first slide with 89 countries, we've never gone out and asked a country to join World Skills. They've come to us because we have this unique value proposition. But it's not us providing, and this is again where Skills Finland is one of our very strong members. We learn from each other. We take that information. We pick the best, and then we provide it to everyone, and that cycle continues. And so you see regional competitions across the world. And then there's competitions in certain economic groups, like you see ASEAN there. So the impact of World Skills, it's not under scrutiny. It's proven itself over and over. In fact, this year is our 75th anniversary, but it's only in the last 20 years that we've professionalised and put in full-time staff and improved the value proposition. But it increases the number of skilled young people, and we see this across the world. Those young people looking over the fence today will make career choices that they wouldn't have if they hadn't visited this competition. It'll improve the standard of vocational training for all, this ratcheting that I talked about. It'll prepare young people for the future careers. Our previous speaker talked about it. The uncertainty of the future is becoming more certain if people have confidence. Skills are a global currency. No matter where you are in the world, you can use your hands to create something, and immediately you will succeed. The success of industries and economic growth and human development. So just to wrap up, it goes well beyond skills competitions. World Skills today, we have a conference attached to our competition, and that's our conference coalition. Intergovernment organisations, non-government organisations, etc. We're putting a focus on moving TVET to the top of the global agenda, working with United Nations agencies. TVET is still not recognised as a first-choice career option for every person. Somehow university still seems to be the way to go in a lot of societies. Petri mentioned before about the OECD and Finland's positioning on PISA. Interesting. OECD is now doing a project on can you apply the methodology of PISA to the VET? And World Skills is providing expert advice to them because they've become partners in recent years. And it's just in its second year. UNESCO, world reference levels. Whoops. I'll go back one. To finish up, young ambassadors. I like the other thing the previous speaker said. When we get invited to speak, no one wants to listen to a guy with grey hair in a suit. Young people relate to young people. And Finland we've just selected Apo, representative for Europe. So what we've created is a World Skills Champions Trust. Young people to represent World Skills around the world. He was recently at the OECD speaking at a symposium there, representing the youth of the world in the skilled careers. So well done to Finland. And our history is captured. You see there a museum that we opened last year. The story of skills and the story of World Skills. And that's a lovely segue to Maria to come and talk about Skills Finland's role, because it's a global organisation taking the strength of the countries, sharing it and giving it back stronger. So I'd like to now welcome up Maria.
Thank you, David, and good afternoon from me as well. As said earlier, I'm Maria Ekrot, CEO of the Skills Finland, and I'm going to building on David's presentation, and I go through how World Skills competition foster the development of the future skills in Finland, so I can convince what he says that should be the value proposition, that it really is what we gain to being part of this excellent network. And after that, I will explain how our national competition, this Taitaja competition where we are today, that how it do the same. At WorldSkills, you really can see to the top of the world in various skills, and you can bring that expertise back to your organization and national networks. In the way, as David said, our experts who are the teachers of vocational education, they learn there, they see how other countries are doing things and come back and take it to our education. In our survey, 100% of WorldSkills experts reported that serving as an expert has increased their skills and the skills which they are able to apply in their teaching work. And this slide is about the advantages of being a WorldSkills member. Membership provides access to an extensive international network which allows for collaboration, we can share best practices, we can develop together and do for collaboration and shared learning. And across 89 member countries, so it's amazing network which gives a lot. And additionally, the cooperation with WorldSkills International, the directors and the secretariat has helped us a lot to bring to Finland and to our national competitions as well. And one concrete example of the benefits of our collaboration is that we have received a customized version of WorldSkills digital platform, which we use to implement to our national Taitaja competitions. It simplifies the registration and improves training effectiveness. We can have the infrastructure list for the skills there and other essential competition information. And about the benefits of participating in WorldSkills competition, it achieves the wet quality through international standards, promotes continuous skills development, and these competitions increase the visibility and attractiveness of WET also in Finland, foster international cooperation, as told earlier, and boost employment opportunities and entrepreneurship. And additionally, they raise Finland's international profile in vocational education. And then speaking about this Taitaja competition, which is pretty similar than WorldSkills, but of course smaller, but it's a huge event in Finland scale. The national skills competition Taitaja promotes the quality and attractiveness of vocational education. And the Taitaja is the largest annual WET event in Finland. It showcases up to 50 vocational fields and gathers tens of thousands visitors with a record of 100,000 visitors in 2017 in Helsinki. And the rights to organize Taitaja are granted to different WET providers in different parts of Finland each year by Skills Finland. And the aim of this event is to increase the quality and attractiveness of WET and improve connections between schools and companies. And we are very proud that the competition includes Taitaja Plus for skills for students with special needs, as well as Taitaja 9, the competition in craftsmanship for the primary school students aged 13 to 16. And we also have international guest competitions, competitors who can take part in Taitaja. We have competitors from 12 different countries here, and we are really proud that they came. And here you can see how huge this network when we are building these Taitaja competitions. We have 60 education providers, 600 vocational teachers and 400 companies. And when this event brings, Taitaja competition brings together a national network of VET professionals and companies, it is the largest meeting place of the year for the Finnish Vocational Education Network. Today here was the Minister of Education, Anders Adlercreutz. You just saw the Director, Petri Lempinen, as well as we have thousands of students here and teachers. Everybody gathers here once in a year. And when everybody contributes their knowledge and skills to the network, everybody can learn from each other. And so we can really raise the quality of about 50 different skills together. And even the Ministry of Education is funding the main part of the competition. The companies are crucial for building this event. They play a significant role in the Taitaja by providing essential machinery, equipment, materials, and expertise. And this collaboration fosters a stronger relationship between industry and education. And this is also a place where we can introduce new fields in competition to engage in demonstration events that showcase emerging skills and industries. And participants can engage in handle learning. And I don't know if you have seen, there's a lot of simulators and try-on practice stages where you can really try some skills. And Taitaja is an impactful event that fosters the development of professional fields and cooperation network. And there are some numbers to show it. 87% of the students experience an increase in their professional skills. 89% of the teachers feel that Taitaja develops their professional field. And 73% of the visitors feel that the image of vocational education improves, which is really important in Finland because the image is not as high as what the students feel who are studying in the VET education. They are really happy, but we still should work more on the image. We see that post-competition collaboration is crucial for maximizing Taitaja events' benefits. Ongoing partnership between education institutions and companies facilitate access to new technology and equipment, promoting continuous skill development. And like after Taitaja, these education providers usually work hard to keeping all these connections. If you have got 400 companies to working with you, it's important that you can keep these connections and continue the cooperation with them. So WorldSkills and Taitaja competition develop professional skills and networks, strengthen the connection between education institutions and companies, and promote continuous learning and employment readiness. So, as we conclude, let's remember the key points we discussed with David and think about how we can apply these insights in our work. If you have any questions or need further information, you can find us later here. Let's continue to collaborate and strive for excellence in everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you, David and Maria. Our next speaker could unfortunately not attend our seminar in person, but wanted to send a personal recorded greeting to our event held here in her hometown, Turku. Here is Member of European Parliament, Li Andersson, giving us her insights on EU upper secondary level education policy, on building a better future through education.
Dear education providers, students and friends. My name is Li Andersson and I bring you warm greetings from the European Parliament, where I chair the Committee on Employment and Social Affairs. Today I would like to speak about something that lies at the heart of our future: education. More specifically, secondary education and vocational skills development, two pillars with the power to shape and create a fairer, more resilient and sustainable Europe. Yet, too often their importance is overlooked in the face of today's many challenges. When we think about the world today and all that's happening, it's no exaggeration to say that we are at a historic turning point. As a famous Italian philosopher put it, at the time between the two big world wars, the old world is dying and the new world is struggling to be born. Now is the time of monsters. What this means to me is that many of the ways we've been used to thinking and organizing our societies and economies are now undergoing significant change. In fact, our whole way of life, born out of the Industrial Revolution, is changing. These changes are intensifying many of the social conflicts that already exist, and in many ways people are in a state of uncertainty. Uncertainty can create fear, and fear, on the other hand, creates many of the biggest threats to our societies. That is why it is so important that we have a strong plan and strong policies, a vision for how we navigate through all of these transitions while leaving no one behind. We must build a better future to protect people and to protect our planet. Faced with overlapping and complex crises, we need effective, practical solutions, and education is one of the most powerful tools that we have. The power of education is that it not only helps us to adapt and to survive, it also gives us the tools to shape what lies ahead. Dear friends, to define the skills, the knowledge, and the attitudes we need to shape the future, we must first ask ourselves, what kind of future are we preparing for? A future in which climate change is reshaping our economies and communities? A future in which the digital and the AI revolutions are transforming the way we work and communicate? A future of growing inequality in which the risk of social exclusion is very real. A future of shifting global power in which Europe's voice and values must remain strong. A future of intensifying global economic competition and emerging new industrial policies. These forces are already transforming our societies, and they cannot be ignored by education systems. To meet these challenges, our systems need to adapt and to evolve. This has also been recognized in the European Union, where skills and competitiveness have become central to the EU's political agenda during this mandate. To underline this, one of the new Commission's initiatives is called the Union of Skills, which aims to achieve higher levels of basic and higher skills in the member states, and also more skills portability within the European Union and also from outside the EU. Dear friends, why is there so much concern about skills in the EU? For example, we need to understand how rapid technological development and the increasing use of artificial intelligence will affect the world. Such a transformation requires skills that many workers and students currently lack. According to the recent Draghi report on European competitiveness and industrial policy, some 42% of Europeans lack basic digital skills, including 37% of those currently employed. In addition, 77% of European companies report that even new employees lack essential skills. To identify what's really important for the future of education, partnerships between employers, trade unions, and educators need to be strengthened. Above all, training must lead to good jobs, and good jobs must include training, with fair working conditions and lifelong learning opportunities. Therefore, adult participation in adult learning and vocational education is crucial. But when it comes to the figures, we see that the EU member states currently are falling far short of our targets. By 2030, the percentage of working adults that should be participating in adult learning should be 60%, and currently it's only 35%. Progress is slow. It is too slow. To change this, the first step is to recognize that the skills agenda needs to address the reasons why so many workers are not currently participating. Many workers have indicated that they do not work in an environment that supports the development of their skills. Almost half of all workers reported that they do not have enough opportunities to use their skills and knowledge in their work. Training opportunities continue to vary between occupations, with the most skilled receiving more training than those who need it the most. This is why we need to do a lot of work to promote lifelong learning, reskilling and upskilling, and also more equal opportunities to participate in reskilling and upskilling. Further background is provided by the Council resolution on a strategic framework for European cooperation in education and training towards the European education area and beyond, covering the years 2021 to 2030. In here, we have targets for education. I will use two examples. For example, the share of low-achieving 8th graders in computer and information literacy should be less than 15% by 2030. Now, it's still around 43%. The rate of 15-year-olds with underachievement in reading, mathematics and science should be less than 15% by 2030. Now, it's around 30% in mathematics and roughly 25% in reading and science. These figures and these examples help us to understand the bigger picture of the challenges we're facing when it comes to the skills agenda. There is a strong need to support the basic skills of European youth and the basic skills of the European working population. We also know that demographics presents an additional challenge. Europe's labor force is expected to shrink by 35 million people by 2050. This means that we need everyone in the European labor market to do every kind of work, not just those highly skilled and highly paid jobs that some seem to think. To succeed in this, ensuring both the quality and the accessibility of vocational education and training is absolutely central. Dear friends, what is then key to achieve these goals? Of course, we also have to speak about resources. In order to find sustainable solutions that promote and support education at all levels, member states must adopt fiscal and education policies that generally support these aims. At the moment, there is a significant risk that we will see a wide resurgence of austerity, with governments seeking to balance their budgets by cutting funding for social services, healthcare, and all too often also education. It is important to point out that in the field of education, the European Union has only a supporting competence in relation to the member states. This means that the EU supports, coordinates and complements national actions. And while there are many excellent objectives, policies and instruments at the EU level in the field of education, their impact ultimately depends on the commitment of national governments to implement them. So how then can we guide member states' policies? Recently, the Commission proposed to exclude defence spending from the fiscal rules in order to allow for necessary investments to strengthen the security, industries and autonomy of the European Union. This is good, but there are also other investment needs that support EU's autonomy and economic growth, such as investments in research and education. To make these investments possible, they should also be left outside these fiscal rules. It is important that we remember that true competitiveness can only be achieved by investing in research, education, skills, and social and technological development. This should be a no-brainer. Increasing social and productive capacity might involve investment costs now, but reduces our costs in the future while making our societies more advanced. Dear friends, as said, our competitiveness and our economy ultimately depend on people. This is an aspect that Europe needs to take serious as a part of its social agenda. This means investing in housing, in social services, healthcare, things that support human well-being and social inclusion. By addressing issues such as youth alienation and mental distress, we promote well-being throughout life. It is time to rethink education, not just as a preparement for employment, but as preparation for resilience, for participation, and for purpose. In times of many multiple crises and insecurity, education is the foundation for productivity, for security, equality, and social cohesion. Dear friends, the coming years will determine Europe's future. In a changing world, we need to reduce dependencies and increase strategic autonomy. The European social model has promoted social mobility, economic fairness, and quality of life. The next few years will determine the future of Europe. And we know that education is the best and most powerful tool to address all of these big transitions and all of these challenges. By getting education right, by investing in skills, in active citizenship and imagination, we can build a fairer, more sustainable and more democratic Europe. We must see education not as a cost, but as our greatest collective investment. And let us never forget that through education, we can truly build a better future for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll make sure to send our warmest thanks to Li Andersson after the event. In the final section of the seminar, we will explore 3 different models of international collaboration in an educational or business setting. After brief introductions, we will have a short panel discussion highlighting some common points of reference the organizations have encountered when navigating international cooperation projects and processes. First up, Tarja Aaltonen from Turku Vocational Institute presenting Project Pafik, a pilot project bringing Finnish hotel, restaurant and catering education studies to Pakistan. Welcome, Tarja.
Good day to you all. And now let's take a 10-minute journey to the Pakistan-Finland International Cooperation, Vocational Talent and Mobility Boost, PAFIC. Here in the picture, you can see the PAFIC project participants. Turku Vocational Institute and City of Turku have done cooperation with Pakistan several years now. Our great Pakistani partners are the National University of Technology, NUTEC in Islamabad. We work with them in the hospitality sector. And NAM's National Institute of Medical Science in Islamabad, and they represent the healthcare sector in this project. This project is in the framework of the Migration Partnership Facility, MPF, an EU-funded initiative implemented by ICMPD, International Centre of Migration Policy Development. Through its grants, the MPF facilitates the execution of projects to strengthen cooperation in migration and mobility between EU member states and partner countries outside of EU. The PAFIC project's aims are to create sustainable talent development and mobility partnership between Finland and Pakistan. One of the objectives is to provide free education to students and to promote equality and encourage women to get an education. To support Pakistan's vocational education system and boost the skills and employability of Pakistani students. The aim is to train students to become employees who meet the needs of the labor market in Finland, in Europe, and in their home country. To encompass a wealth of activities ranging from research, curriculum development, training, mobility, and knowledge exchange. Also developing skills together. We have developed a competence-based curriculum for hospitality assistant and for care assistant programs and mentoring program for Pakistani teachers. Here in the picture, you can see our Finnish PAFIC team visiting Islamabad last autumn when we with NUTEC staff compared our curriculums and agreed on common goals for the hospitality assistant training. The project is divided into 3 different phases. In the phase 1, 500 students will receive hospitality or care assistant training for 6 months in Pakistan. The phase 2 includes a further 3-month training also in Pakistan, and the students will be offered practical hands-on training and studies in Finnish language, culture and society. And in the last phase 3, approximately 150 selected students will travel to Finland to complete a 3-month internship. In the picture left, you can see one of the NUTEC's hospitality students who is working in the Hotel Marriott, Islamabad, and he is coming to Finland for a 3-month training period. Now more details about the hospitality assistant training. The collaboration between Turku Vocational Institute and the National University of Technology began in 2020 when Thai led the planning and mentoring of a new hospitality management program for NUTEC. Year 2024 started a new collaboration project with NUTEC under the PAFIC initiative. The goal is to plan and implement a 12-month hospitality assistant training program for 3 groups. The training prepares students for assistant roles in the hotel and restaurant industry. First 9 months of the training will be conducted in Pakistan, and the top performing students will be offered a 3-month internship in Finland. At the beginning of this PAFIC project, we conducted a survey for hospitality companies in Turku area. And here are the qualities that employers in the hospitality field appreciate when they hire foreign workers. The most important aspects to consider in our training programs from this list are excellent practical vocational skills, very good English language proficiency, and basic Finnish language skills, and also commitment to the rules of working life. Additionally, in our hospitality field, hygiene knowledge is also essential. With our Pakistani colleagues, we have designed a competence-based curriculum for the hospitality assistant training program. Our curriculum consists of the following modules. In the first phase, students learn customer service, hygiene, safety and sustainability, cafeteria services and accommodation services, and soft skills including Finnish language and culture, English, work-life ethics, vocational mathematics and IT skills, and communication skills. In the second phase, they learn practical skills in working in assisting culinary tasks and selling and serving food and beverages. In mid-April, we have already welcomed the first few students from New Tech to Finland. They have had their 2 weeks orientation period in Turku Vocational Institute. It included a lot of information and practical arrangements. They got to learn practical skills in our teaching kitchen with our restaurant field students and also in our own learning environment, hostelship Puure. Placements in hospitality industry companies for our Pakistani interns are organized by our own Thai teachers. And they also have mentored workplace supervisors to guide international students. Thai tourism students have organized leisure activities as part of their studies, such as city tours and visits to the Kuhankuona hiking trails and Turku museums. Students who complete this PAFIC hospitality assistant course get free vocational education. Free education provides students with an important pathway to obtaining vocational training, improving their living conditions and building a more sustainable future. Their practical vocational skills develop, and language skills strengthen, proficiency in Finnish and English improves. They get international experience of working abroad, and they get pre-arranged work placements, accommodation, and all other arrangements. They get soft landing orientation sessions and support to facilitate their employment in Finland after the 3-month internship period. They get to network with the industry professionals and learn about the local culture and work practices. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our experience of this PAFIC project, and I wish you all a lovely Taitaja event.
Thank you, Tarja. Next, let's welcome Ajay Joshi from Turku University of Applied Sciences, introducing their quickly expanding international study programs.
Thank you. Hello everybody, my name is Ajay Joshi and I'm a senior lecturer at Turku University of Applied Sciences, and I teach mostly international business and marketing courses. And today is very important because my topic is about holding on to skilled workforce or graduates from universities and universities of applied sciences. Considering we have a problem with aging population, and also the rate of population growth is not increasing by any means. So I think at the industrial level, as educational level, we all need to work together to hold on to the future by holding on to the people that we nurture here in Finland. Yeah? So to begin with, I'm going to give you a brief introduction about my university. So Turku University, we have two campuses, one in Salo and in Turku, of course. And upon completing their studies, 70% of our graduates actually reside locally. And some other interesting facts about our university: we have over 12,000 students and over 800 staff members. And we offer roughly 50 undergraduate programs and with hundreds of study options. Every year, we have roughly 2,000 people who graduate from our programs. And currently, we have over 200 ongoing projects, both domestic and international. So the criteria for being accepted at our University of Applied Sciences is that English language proficiency, because the programs are held and taught in English, obviously. And we have two types of bachelor's, business-based and engineering-based. For bachelor's level, it takes roughly 3.5 years to complete the studies. And for the engineering programs, it takes 4 years. And students who have completed their higher secondary education in their home countries are eligible, provided they have SAT scores, as well as English language proficiency. It can be both TOEFL or IELTS test. However, those students who want to apply to master's program, what is required is for them to have 2 years of work-life experience after completing their studies. And that's how we differ from the traditional universities. Here are lists of various degree programs which are conducted in English. We have 2 bachelors in business. First is business administration and international operations and business. And we have quite a handful of selections when it comes to engineering, and it's continuously growing. And in addition to that, we also have bachelors of social services in early childhood education. As for MBA programs, we have specialization in business management and sales management. How do we structure our studies so that we prepare our students for working life? As I said in the beginning, that one of the biggest challenges we have is retaining our students or convincing them to stay in Finland. First thing we do is we provide Finnish languages, which is a very essential part of our curriculum. In addition to that, the way our curriculum is designed is that project studies is integrated with company collaboration, where the students takes on real-life challenges, where they actually work on real projects with the companies in international and diverse environment. And in addition to that, being applied science university, we follow the principle or pedagogical approach where learning by doing is important. So when our students graduate, they have to have work placement and internship competencies, meaning that when they graduate, they're ready to work. So how do we achieve this? By providing local language and work skills, which are key to the job market. And also, we aim to also retain the talents that we nurture within our ecosystem. Those of you the international delegates, if you are not aware, until 2016, tuition was free for all citizens from all over the world. As of 2017, we started charging tuition fees, and at Turku University of Applied Sciences, we charge roughly 12,000 euros. And we also provide scholarships, so those who pay in time, they get 1,000 discount. But most important thing is that we have provided 4,000 euro scholarships to those students who reach, for example, at the end of the first year of the studies, A1 level. And continuously, at the end of second year of studies, we provide further 4,000 and so on and so forth. So the whole aim is that when they complete their studies, they are both literate, they have competences, and they have language training so that they can meet the demands of the local market. And at the same time, as you can see in my presentation, that in 2019 we only had one bachelor's program conducted in English. However, moving 7 years forward, we now offer 12 bachelors in English and 2 master's programs. And I think this will continue to grow in the future. Now come back to international students at Turku University of Applied Sciences. As you can see, in 2019 we had roughly just over 300. And due to COVID, that figure dropped down drastically. But if you look 2022 and 2023, there has been sharp increase, of the intake of these international degree students. And next year, we have opened 710 places for new students. And out of that, top 5 countries where most of our applicants come from are India, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And please keep in mind, this figure also includes our double degree students and our Erasmus exchange students. So this is very dear to my heart because situation of foreign higher education graduates 3 years after graduation by level of education. As you can see, 56% of graduates from University of Applied Sciences actually find employment 3 years after completing their degrees. That's quite a high and promising. And 4% of these students actually continue with further education, and only 3% are unemployed. But can you see the category 25%? That is the knowledge drain that we must tap into because our industry demands that we have skilled workers. And you can see for other universities and other programs, it's quite similar. And we always hear in the media that we need to have more skilled workers. Here we go. We do have them. We just need to have the system and mechanism to ensure that we provide them with the right opportunities. And at Turku University of Applied Sciences, we have many different opportunities for staffs, students, and the teachers. Based on this global map, you can see how many partnership agreements we have. To give you an example, there are 107 positions for long-term practical training possibilities for our students within the European Union. Similarly, there is also 1,122 student exchange possibilities for our students. Similarly, there are 450 teachers' mobility possibilities for our staff. All in all, we have 2,120 places for international mobilities and agreements. At the end of the day, it is through others we learn more. We enrich our cultural knowledge, understanding how others do things. With this, I'd like to thank you all for listening to me. And by the way, because we are skill developer, we have multiple methods of teaching. I don't want to use word teaching, how we train our students. So the first picture on the top left corner, simulation-based. We have interactive-based learning, learning by doing. We use multitude of methods to ensure that our students learn and stay motivated, and we produce not just graduate, but the skilled graduates. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me.
Thank you, Ajay. And finally, our third presenter and panelist comes from the business sector. Representing Sandvik Mining and Rock Technology, please welcome Saija Kuusisto Lancaster, here to talk about empowering growth through collaboration, global reach, and local engagement.
Good afternoon. My name is Saija Kuusisto Lancaster, and as you already heard, I come from Sandvik, and maybe I'll start with a couple of words about the company. We are a Swedish-based engineering group, have sales in roughly 150 countries, our own operations and employees in 70 countries, so pretty global us as well. 123 billion Swedish krona of revenue last year. We invest about 4% of the revenue in R&D invested last year. And the share of women, which I always want to mention, is roughly 20% and growing. I come from we have 3 business areas, and I represent the mining and rock technology, which you already heard in the picture in the middle. It's the biggest business area, and my division creates underground trucks and loaders. And one of the big trucks is actually here on campus for the students to troubleshoot. So if you have an opportunity, I strongly recommend to go and have a look. They are big machines. My division, the Load and Haul division, it's headquartered here in Turku, but we have operations globally, as you can see. Turku is the biggest site. We have about 800 people here, and all functions, like engineering, product line, and when you zoom into the manufacturing, we have pretty much every let's say, cycle of production here: welding, machining, assembly, testing. But we have operations in many other regions as well. We have battery electric, and especially battery production in California, in Camarillo. We have 2 sites in China. We have assembly in South Africa. And we have a very new site, a production unit in a ramp-up phase in Seremban in Malaysia. And today I will mainly focus on that site. But as Turku is the headquarter and we have the biggest amount of expertise over here currently, we very much use Turku as the sort of as Turku staff to transfer knowledge and skills globally to our other sites. I will today zoom into 3 different topics. Our internal collaboration. How do we work between our sites to transfer skills and knowledge and to skill up people? How do we work locally here in Turku with a couple of schools? And then finally, a new collaboration with a school in Sweden, in Sandviken. This is a picture of the first loader that was built in the Seremban site in Malaysia. You can see the proud guys, the local guys especially, never maybe seen an underground mining machine before, and this is what they produced, with the support from some experts from Turku, which you can also see in the picture. So Seremban is a very brand new factory, a greenfield operation. We had our opening ceremony roughly a year ago. And currently we have about 60 employees of our own on site. There was no underground truck and loader manufacturing in Malaysia before. Neither was there any heavy vehicle manufacturing at all. So we had to pretty much start from zero and bring in the skills and train the people to understand what an assembly of a truck or loader is like and how the process goes. So we have used a group of experts from here in Turku to travel there and train the local people. All levels of let's say, functions, both the office and the assembly side. So a lot of expertise and a lot of people have been traveling between the sites to do this upskilling. Peer training also, I would say, gives a huge opportunity for those guys to learn and develop, and also sort of provides upskilling to them. And this training continues even as of today, as we are ramping up the production, and we are very much also transferring new products from other sites to be built in Malaysia also in the future. So it's not only a project that lasted a couple of months, but will continue also into the future. In the pictures you can see some of the machines and some of our local people trained by the guys from Turku. Huge opportunity for both parties. Let's talk next about the collaboration that Sandvik has locally here in Turku with the local schools. We have had already since about 2018 collaboration with the Turku Vocational Institute. And now we have a plan to extend this collaboration to also involve the Raisia Regional Education and Training Consortium, RASECO. With the Turku school, we already have a continuous rotation of students practicing their skills in our assembly, in our Turku factory. So we have groups of 4 students coming in. They currently stay for 10 weeks, and then they are being swapped with a new group of students. About 60% of those students have been lucky enough to get a summer traineeship at our production unit, and we have so far employed about 40 students, and that's by today. Then something about the future. What are the plans? The third element of our learning collaboration is with the Göranssonska school in Sandviken. It's named after very industrial leader Göran Göransson, who also has founded the Sandvik company and the Sandvik city or town. And that school has become a sort of a technology leader in education in Sweden. And they have really been successful in integrating the real industrial expertise and resources into that school's program, which sounds very pragmatic and very useful. So our plan, and it's still a plan, we'll be piloting hopefully this later this year, is to have a student exchange program between the Turku Vocational Institute and the Göranssonska school. The way that students travel from here to Sweden, study there for a couple of weeks, and we have a group of students coming from Sweden to study here in Turku. And Sandvik Turku factory, that will serve as a practical learning environment. So students can actually hands-on practice what they have learned at school. Which to me sounds really fantastic and makes me really want to go back to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Saija. And now for the panel discussion. The panel will be moderated by Maria Talvitie, our Taitaja2025 International Coordinator.
Hello. Okay, and welcome. Please come up, all panelists, and take a seat. Let's get comfortable. Maybe Tarja, you can here in the middle, and maybe Ajay and Saija can sit there. Here we go. Thank you, Maarit, and thank you for your presentations, Ajay, Saija, and Tarja. Now, you are all international project pros working on bringing value to your organization through international collaboration. But how about on an individual level? What do you think is the main learning gain of working in an international context? Maybe just with a few words, Tarja.
Well, I think one learns a lot with each project, and for example, ability to adapt cultural awareness and sensitivity might be the key things.
Yeah, adaptability definitely is key in working in international contexts, and something that Hiski also mentions in his speech. How about Tarja?
Saija.
Saija, sorry.
Exactly, and I'm pretty much following you, because what Hiski said, that the tempo of the world is changing and becoming more and more rapid. So I think it's pretty much the same. I've worked in an international context all my life, and I think what I have learned is to actually never be surprised if things change, the timetables change, or if things don't go as I planned or thought.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, about sort of being more resilient and agile. Very important, I think, in the current working life.
Yeah, resiliency for sure. How about Ajay?
I agree with both of you, and in addition to that, also to respect different cultural perspective and point of view is very important. Yeah, and also one other competence I find it: learn to unlearn, and that is the most difficult part, to let go of, how you are used to doing things.
Yeah, let go of assumptions and learn to...
Something works here in your Sandvik factory here will not work in Malaysia.
Exactly.
Yeah? And it's challenging.
Learn to unlearn. I think that's very well said, Ajay. Okay, and how does one get to be a part of international projects in your organizations? Maybe Saija, you begin with how you choose the employees who get to work internationally within Sandvik.
Sure. Well, to start with, I think they have to be having strong core skills, so good at what they do, whether it's hydraulics or mechanics or something else. Be really good in that skill. Secondly, they need to not only know the skill themselves, but have the capability to train somebody else, to sort of let another person know how to do it, rather than keep it to myself. I think attitude is very important.
Yes.
To have this open mind that I want to go abroad, I want to see how people look in a different country and how they work and how the world looks like.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think it's also important to perform well in the job, because these opportunities can also be considered as a kind of recognition or reward.
Yeah. Okay. From an employee's point of view, then, Tarja, how were you picked to work in the PAFIC project in your organization in Thai?
Well, I think I was picked because I'm interested in developing operations and education of our own institution, and I'm curious about getting to know new cultures and partners, and I see collaboration projects as opportunities to gain new perspectives for our own education implementation as well.
I think your answers fit together very nicely. So as an employee, you need to let the employee know that you are interested and have the skills to do that. How about Ajay, from a teacher's point of view, although you don't like the word teaching, but
so what we try to install in our students are like the cultural competencies. Like, don't go with the attitude, I know it all and, I'm a superior. So we try to create an environment where everybody is equal and they try to learn from one another. That is important. Communication skill is very important as well, and that is also embedded in our curriculum. So what we try to do is ensure that there is so much room for loss in translation and meaning. So what we have seen is that when the students are able to communicate well, both written and orally, there is very little chance for confusion and conflict. So that is very important. Teamwork and collaboration. This is like double-edged sword, because you can only teach someone something to a certain level, but at the end of the day, it is their responsibility to adhere by the rules they have committed to a build, right? So that is also a skill set that we try to instill in our students Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's really great to hear, because at Sun Week we talk about collaboration every day, between function, between teams, between sides, you know, domestically and globally. So very much a future skill as well.
Absolutely, and also to be inclusive, because naturally, because if you're different, you will have this tendency of gravitating to the people who are alike to you. But in this international context, it's very important to set the precedent that you have to include by force if necessary, and later on it becomes culture. So, these are the things very important.
Yeah, I think very matchy answers in a sense, but also very sort of the ideas from the previous presentations about like wanting to improve, wanting to collaborate, showing it. And I think sort of core skills of communication come up as well. So you can't just know the skill, you have to be willing to communicate and have very sort of essential people skills to be able to show and adapt and work. Sounds very good. How about Tarja? You said that 150 students in Pakistan are chosen to come to Finland at the end of the project. What are the qualities in the students that you are looking for to bring to Finland?
Well, I have a big list because it's a huge, huge responsibility to choose, because there are so many who want to come to Finland.
Yeah.
And when selecting new tech students for the internship to come to Finland, we pay attention to the students' professional practical skills. In this case, skills related to the hospitality assistant field. And we want to hear about their learning on a job periods in Pakistan, how they have accomplished them. And also all the students have to pass different tests, hygiene tests, English and Finnish tests before coming to Finland. And then we consider their overall attitude, punctuality in studies and performances, and we interview them via Teams.
Yeah. Again, I think a nice callback to Saya's first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to be good at. Yeah, you need to be good at your work. You need to be able to show it. You need to have the basic skills behind it: the communication, the language, the knowledge to participate in this opportunity. So with good skills, with good communication, with good core employee skills, you get chances within different organizations and different projects.
I think clearly we all sort of emphasize the importance of social skills as well.
Yeah. And I think as we talked about AI today as well, or Hiske talked about it, and I think Li Andersson mentioned that as well in her presentation, the communication and social skills become even more important, because that's something that's at the core of being a human employee and a human worker. So I think that for sure is coming more and more important. So we talked about your organization side of things and what the goals are, how staff and students are picked or prepared to work in international settings. But one thing I've learned from working in an international context is that it will always surprise you. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Any tricky situations or surprises that you want to share? Everybody nodding. Maybe Ajay, you want to go first?
Surprising situation. If you assign any group assignment to group of international students, it's quite funny to see how each group progresses, because there will be a different dynamics.
Yeah.
And if you have a bunch of all international students, like everybody wants to lead, and there's a bit of a clash, right? And it's a good show until they calm down. Yeah. So so we have had many incidents like that.
Yeah. So dynamics within the groups.
Yeah.
When you work with people, there's always emotions and backgrounds that come to question.
And clashing.
Yeah. Saya, you had a good smile.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was sort of thinking back my own career. Some years ago, I traveled to a mine site in Papua New Guinea, and I stayed in the guest house of the mine. And in the middle of the night, I looked through the window to the very dark outside and saw two guards that were guarding the guest house. They were two local half-naked men. What surprised me was the weapon they were using to protect me. They had a bow and an arrow.
Okay.
And it's just so exotic, and I really, really didn't think that I would, see in the modern life something like that still in use. So that to me was, surprising, exotic, and absolutely quite fantastic as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a lifelong memory to be protected by a bow and arrow. Yeah. Did you feel safe?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wonderful. How about Tarja?
Well, I agree with you too, with the different cultures and with the different set of the different groups due to the different cultures and the personalities that are in the group. With this latest PAFIC project, the surprise has been the number of required travel documents that we needed with them. And the challenge has been that, for example, Pakistani students fill out the entry applications to Finland online, but they have to go to United Arab Emirates, to Abu Dhabi, to get identification. And to get to United Arab Emirates, they need a visa for that. So it's so many different steps before they even can get to Finland.
Yeah.
And that can be even to students a bit training process, and a long process, many months.
Yeah. Ajay, have you encountered?
Yeah, I think it's a very common problem for most students from developing countries. There are lots and lots of red tapes, and the bureaucracy. So at times, it's very frustrating. Yeah. Having said that, I think compared to, say, 10 years ago, I think there has been a lot of progress. For example, we have many international students who would accept the study place, and they will even pay the tuition fees, but they are not given visa on time. Yeah. Okay. So I think Migri has put on a lot of effort now, that has changed actually.
Yeah, I think
so it's
will to bring in workforce from abroad exceeds those processes and makes them move faster. So for sure. Have you encountered any
I think loads of those, and sometimes it can be a simple thing, like at the immigration or customs, you're going somewhere, they ask for the reason of your visit, and in Finnish you would say work, because it's you're going there to work, but then you should most likely say business, because if you mention work, then suddenly it's all kind of a working permits and so if you just go for visit, it's leisure or business rather work. So
and experience brings the knowledge in which words to use and which not, and with that you move ahead. Okay, I think the discussion already has brought about many of the points that have been said in the previous presentations. I think one memorable cultural different situation that I encountered was we Finns are sometimes quite reserved, or seen as quite reserved. And one thing is that we talk quite far away from one another. I encountered a Greek tennis teacher once in my tennis club, and he was talking this close to me, and I kept moving backwards as he was talking, and we moved the length of a tennis court during a 5-minute conversation. So have you encountered anything like that in working, maybe Ajay, with your students? Do you teach Finnish cultural skills to the students when they come?
So we do have a package when they come, getting used to Finland.
Yeah.
So I think it's a process, and it takes more than a course, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we do try to prepare them to how to get used to Finland.
Yeah.
And the most common challenge is the quietness of the Finnish students. When we ask questions, especially when we have a visiting lecturers, they're like, was my English that poor?
Yeah.
So So there are different ways of...
It's a politeness issue of letting the others speak and holding your...
Yeah. Naturally, also Finns are naturally very quiet.
Yeah. But these are the adaptation situations that you have to get to, and I think, from my point of view, working in an international context can be the sort of extra flexibility and working life skill training that you get on top of the skills training that you do to learn a profession, adding some international aspects to it can be what makes you a better worker in the future, because you are adaptable, ready to learn more and so forth. Thank you for our panelists today, and now we move to the last phase of our seminar. So please give a round of applause to... And now, as our seminar is drawing to a close, I would like to invite our Taitaja2025 competition director, Petri Hörkkä, on stage with me. Now, Petri, you have over 30 years of experience in vocational education and training, and probably know the Taitaja2025 event better than anybody. From your point of view, what do you think is the key to a successful working life and future?
First, I would like to give a big thank you to all the speakers at our seminar. All the speeches emphasized the importance of cooperation and finding common solutions. Cooperation is the key to a better future between people, educational institutions, companies, and countries. By combining our resources, creativity, ideas, skills, and knowledge, we are more than we are when we act alone. A better future is our shared responsibility, and we must all look in the same direction, helping each other. Thanks also to all those who participated in the seminar, both on site and online. Let's create a good future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Petri, and let's give one last round of applause to all our amazing speakers today. And thank you to our audience for your attentive participation. We hope you give us feedback. There will be a QR code on the screen soon for your experience, and have a wonderful rest of your day. The Taitaja City is open for 2 more hours after this, so please go and explore and see our skilled participants, contestants in action. Have a good day.